Albania, 1465. The wind carries the scent of pine and powder. The Balkans stand battered, but not broken. In this land of stone and story, two sons of the same earth are about to clash, not as brothers, but as bitter foes. For over 2 decades, Skanderbeg, the eagle of Albania, had etched his legacy into the mountains and valleys of his homeland. With masterful ambushes, fearless frontal assaults, and an unmatched command of the terrain, he humbled wave after wave of Ottoman invaders, turning each battlefield into a testament of defiance. But now a new shadow loomed. Sultan Mehmed II of the Ottoman Empire had given Ballaban Badera, the Sanjak-Bey of the Sanjak of Ohrid, the reins of the Ottoman campaigns in Albania, to do what others could not: break Skanderbeg. Ballaban had been a peasant in Skanderbeg's ancestral domains and was raised through the Devşirme system to become a Janissary for the Sultan. Much like Skanderbeg, aware that defeat was a real possibility, Ballaban sent Skanderbeg lavish gifts, hoping to buy mercy should he fall into his rival's hands. Though the two had once crossed paths in the Ottoman court, Ballaban's sentiments were far from friendly. Beneath a facade of camaraderie, he harbored deep resentment, feigning alliance while plotting against the Albanian hero. When word reached Ballaban that Skanderbeg lay camped in Vajkal, he saw his opening, and in April 1465 rallied 18,000 men to begin the march. Skanderbeg positioned his force of 5,000 troops at the strategic center of Vajkal Valley, while the Ottomans set theirs across the divide, near the mountain that marked the valley's terminus. Anticipating their assault, Skanderbeg kept his troops in a constant state of readiness. On the eve of battle, he crafted a bold deception. He would feign weakness, letting fear and hesitation seep into the Ottoman lines. Once drawn into the valley under the illusion of an easy victory, the enemy would be ambushed. The Albanians would then press the attack up into the hills, halting only at the point beyond which a counterstrike could be launched. The following day, Ballaban crossed beyond the hills and launched a sudden assault on Skanderbeg's position. Calm and composed, Skanderbeg allowed the Ottoman forces to draw near before unleashing a fierce counterattack. The valley erupted into brutal combat. Blood was spilled on both sides, but the Albanian forces stood their ground. As the Ottoman lines fractured and retreated, Skanderbeg's strategy had proven successful. Most of his men halted pursuit at the hills, adhering to his orders to avoid a potential countertrap. But not all listened. A group of Albanian officers, caught in the rush of victory, pressed onward in pursuit. The Ottomans, however, had regrouped. Turning on their pursuers, they ambushed the scattered Albanians, forcing them to flee toward higher ground. There, on a hilltop, the officers mistook Ottoman infantrymen for Christian allies. It was a fatal error. Surrounded and captured, they were taken as prisoners and delivered into the hands of Ballaban Badera. Among them were Moisi Galami, Vladan Jurica, Skanderbeg's relative, Muzek Arianidi, Skanderbeg's nephew, Jin Mazaka, John Parley, Nikol Berisha, Gjergj Kastrioti, and Jin Mainshir. In an effort to secure their release, Skanderbeg dispatched an ambassador to the Sultan, pleading for the safe return of his captured commanders and warning that failure to do so would result in the execution of Ottoman prisoners held by the Albanians. Despite the plea, the Sultan remained resolute. Informed of the prisoner's importance by Ballaban Badera, he refused any clemency and instead ordered a harrowing punishment. The Albanian officers were subjected to relentless torture, their bodies flayed over 15 agonizing days. In the end, their remains were cast aside, left to be devoured by dogs. As dusk fell upon the blood-drenched plains of Vajkal, sorrow gripped the Albanian camps. Skanderbeg's envoy had returned, not with hope, but with horror. The Sultan had dismissed the appeal, and the captured officers had met a gruesome fate. Their disfigured corpses were thrown to the dogs, a cruel gesture meant to shatter the spirit of their comrades. In July 1465, Skanderbeg and Ballaban Badera clashed near Meçad, close to Oranik in Upper Dibra. Both sides fielded roughly 10,000 troops. Ballaban, hoping to exploit Skanderbeg's absence, attempted to bribe a local Albanian camp. But Skanderbeg, warned of the plot, returned swiftly, marching through Ohrid to surprise the Ottomans. Unaware of Skanderbeg's return, Ballaban ordered an attack. Instead, his forces were ambushed. Albanian cavalry struck from one side, while Italian volunteers attacked from the other. The battle ended in a decisive Albanian victory. Casualty figures remain unknown, but sources note that few Ottomans escaped and Ottoman flags were captured. Ballaban retreated to Constantinople, only to return with larger forces. In August 1465, Ballaban launched his most ambitious military campaign against Skanderbeg. Despite a setback at the Battle of Vajkal in April, he managed to inflict significant casualties on Skanderbeg's troops and was soon favored by Sultan Mecad II. Both Ballaban and Jakup Arnauti, Albanian peasants by birth, were selected to lead a combined offensive, which some scholars interpret as the Sultan's attempt to spark a social revolution within Albania and erode Skanderbeg's support. Ballaban was entrusted with commanding two separate military units. Prior to launching the campaign, he extended several gifts to Skanderbeg, hoping to win his favor. Skanderbeg, however, rejected the overture and sent back a pickaxe and a plow, symbolizing Ballaban's humble origins and rebuking him for turning against his fellow Albanians. Deeply insulted, Ballaban vowed revenge. The campaign plan involved a dual march into Albanian territory, Ballaban leading 24,000 troops from Dibra and Arnauti leading 16,000 from Mecad. Their goal was to converge at Krui, anticipating that Skanderbeg would engage one army, allowing the other to strike his forces from behind. While many of Skanderbeg's allied nobles favored a defensive stance, Skanderbeg recognized the danger of allowing the two Ottoman forces to unite. Recently bolstered by reinforcements and supplies from Ferdinand I of Naples, swelling his ranks to 12,000, Skanderbeg resolved to strike Ballaban first. Skanderbeg stationed his troops near Oranik, in the fields of Vajkal, where Ballaban planned to advance. Ballaban attempted deception by bribing Albanian sentries to abandon their posts late at night, but Skanderbeg anticipated the ploy. He secretly positioned 8,000 cavalry and 4,000 infantry in the surrounding woods. After marching 8 miles to locate Ballaban's army, Skanderbeg encountered him. Ballaban ordered his forces to capture Skanderbeg, intending to eliminate his army thereafter. Rallying his troops, Skanderbeg divided them into 4 detachments under Tanush Thopia, Hal Angeli's brother-in-law, Zaharia Gropa, and himself. The Ottomans, hesitant to pursue, were lured into the battlefield where Skanderbeg had set his trap. Albanian forces emerged from concealment and encircled the enemy. Overwhelmed, the Ottomans fled in disarray, suffering heavy losses. Ballaban escaped, hiding with part of his force until the Albanians departed. As Skanderbeg received word from his sister that Arnaut's army had reached central Albania and was razing the countryside, he quickly mobilized to confront this new threat. Ballaban, meanwhile, returned to the Sultan empty-handed and defeated. Jakup Arnaut entered Albania under the assumption that he would rendezvous with his fellow commander Ballaban. Instead, he was unknowingly heading into a confrontation with Skanderbeg himself. Prior to the march, Skanderbeg rallied his troops, reminding them of their recent triumph over a force twice their size and urging confidence against Arnaut's army, which numbered just 16,000. The Albanian forces advanced toward Kashar, near modern-day Tirana, where Arnaut's troops were stationed. Upon arrival, Skanderbeg dispatched 500 cavalrymen to bait the Ottomans into a reckless maneuver. The strategy worked. Arnaut fragmented his army into 3 units in an attempt to encircle and overwhelm the Albanian horsemen, who feigned retreat while drawing the enemy deeper into vulnerable ground. As the Ottoman soldiers pressed forward, the hidden Albanian forces launched a ferocious counterattack, catching them off guard. Amid the chaos, Skanderbeg spotted Jakup Arnaut on the battlefield and struck him with a spear beneath the chin, dealing a decisive blow. Arnaut's death shattered Ottoman morale. The remaining troops broke formation and fled in disarray, only to be relentlessly pursued by Skanderbeg's forces, who inflicted devastating losses in the aftermath. The Ottoman forces suffered staggering losses, with contemporary estimates suggesting over 24,000 soldiers were dead, wounded, or taken prisoner. In keeping with tradition, Skanderbeg permitted his troops to collect spoils from the battlefield. The triumphant Albanian army marched into the city of Kruia, where once doubtful citizens now erupted in celebration upon their return. Skanderbeg promptly informed nearby ambassadors of the resounding victory, generously offering them a substantial share of the captured loot as a gesture of diplomacy and strength. But the story doesn't end here. As news of the defeat reaches the Ottoman court, tensions mount. The Sultan demands results. Ballaban, still seething from humiliation, prepares for a final reckoning. In the next episode, the conflict escalates into the decisive clash, the Second Siege of Kruia, where Skanderbeg and Ballaban face each other once again, this time in a battle that could shape the fate of Albania. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of legendary